everybody. This is MJ, the coding coach. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, this is MJ. How are you guys? I haven't been here in a while. So I keep getting the same questions in my messages, so I wanted to make a live about it. I get the same questions all the time, and the two main questions that I get all the time is, how did I become a medical coder? And how did I end up moving to Atlanta? Because a lot of people, if you follow me on YouTube, Instagram, all those different places, then you know I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee. And now I live in Atlanta, and I've been here since 2014. So a lot of people ask me, how did you end up moving from Memphis to Atlanta? And then they ask me, how did I become a medical coder? So I wanted to just answer the question on the live about how I became a medical coder and how I moved to Atlanta. So first I want to start off by saying that yes, I had been in the medical field prior. Prior to me becoming a medical coder, I had worked at an assisted living place as the business office assistant. I was a certified pharmacy technician. I never done any nursing or anything like that, but I was in the medical field before I became a medical coder. So it did kind of help as far as the familiarity of how things go in healthcare. So let's get into the story. This is story time about how I moved to Atlanta and how I became a medical coder. Now this story is crazy because all of my friends told me that I was crazy when I moved to Atlanta. Now they were happy for me and they wanted me to go ahead and, do it if it was good for me, but they really thought I was crazy, and let me tell you why. So I was working in college admissions prior to me getting to medical coding. I was an admissions counselor at a college. And I also help with graduate services, like help finding a job once you're done with your program. So I was working at this college in Memphis called Anthem Career College. We had things like x-ray technician, pharmacy tech. We had computer programs. We had a lot of different technical programs because it was a trade school. The longest programs that we had there were maybe 2 years. So it was anywhere between 9 months and 2 years for all the programs that we had. So I'm working in college admissions. I'm in Memphis. I'm working my job. This is 2014. This is the best job I had ever had in my life. The best job that I had. So the reason I got out of college admissions, and I'll go into that, is it's kind of a sales position. Yeah, you're the admissions counselor. You're making sure your students graduate. You're retaining them, making sure they're coming to class. But however, it's still a sales position because I have to enroll students, and my performance is based on how many students I enroll into these programs. So I'm working in college admissions. I'm in Memphis, 2014. This is the most money I've ever made in my life. And I'm making like $41,000, $42,000. So even now in 2023, $43,000 is okay. That's more than $20 an hour. You can live off of it. I'm not saying it's the best salary, but it was decent. It was okay. So I'm just, you can't tell me anything. I'm like Kanye, no, you can't tell me nothing. That's how I was, making $41,000, and you just couldn't tell me nothing. So I'm working in college admissions. So that Friday, I had just re-signed my lease. I was living in a nice condo apartment in Midtown in Memphis. Everything's going well. The most money I've ever made. Everything's going good. Re-signed my lease on a Friday. So I knew something, and not just me, my coworkers and things like that. Congratulations. She said she just passed her CPC. There you go. Congratulations on passing your CPC exam, Brittany. So just re-signed my lease on that Friday. I'm feeling good. Everything's good. Now, at my job, it was some fishy stuff going on, but I'm not thinking that the school is going to close down or anything. But I knew it was something fishy was going on because we was late getting our paycheck the last time we supposed to get paid. And then the time after that, it was a day late. So all of us was like, there's something going on. But it's like, no, we switched payroll services. It's this, is this. I'm like, okay. Re-signed my lease on a Friday. On a Wednesday, when I got to work, we got an email saying that Friday will be our last day in 2 days. This school had owed the Department of Education, allegedly, supposedly, I guess I'm supposed to say that, but the school closed down. That's not a allegedly, but for the reason I was hearing that they owed the Department of Education a lot of money or something like this. So allegedly that was the reason. But whatever it was, they told us on a Wednesday that Friday would be our last day. So now I'm panicking. I just re-signed my lease that prior Friday. I don't have any money saved. I don't know what's going on. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? So you're telling me in 2 days I'm not going to have a job. So Friday came around. They terminated all of us. The school closed down. So now this is like August of 2014. So I'm looking for a job at other colleges. I'm looking for other things that I've done before. So of course I have a few irons in the fire, but nothing really solidified. So now a month later, this is September. Keep in mind that I just re-signed my lease. So I hadn't found a job. So I'm putting money out paying my bills, but none is coming in. So that September, I get a call from my prior supervisor that worked with me in Memphis. And what's so ironic is that a month before the school closed down, that same supervisor had transferred to Atlanta, to our campus in Atlanta, because the school I was working for had campuses all across the 50 states. So she had actually just transferred a month before to the Atlanta campus. So she was already in Atlanta. Now, this lady and I, we did not have a personal relationship at all. She was just my supervisor. I worked under her, and we had a great working relationship. I did my work. I did things she asked of me. Everything was good. So here it is. It's a month later. I hadn't found a job. My supervisor ring my phone. Ring. So I'm like, what she want? I wonder what she, because we didn't have a relationship. So what do you want? So I answered my phone. Hello? She was like, hey, Marciana, I'm just calling to check on you. The school's closed down everywhere. I'm just seeing, had you found a job yet? So I was like, no, I hadn't found a job yet, but I'm looking and I got some things that might come, that might come through. What's going on? She's like, well, I am a director here at a college in Atlanta. As soon as our Atlanta campus closed down, I was able to find a director job at a college in Atlanta. Have you thought about moving to Atlanta? So keep in mind that I don't know anybody in Atlanta. I've only visited Atlanta a few times. Only person I knew basically in Atlanta was one of my brother's college friends, and that was it. And, when I came to Atlanta a few times, then I would stop by and just say hi to him or whatever the case, because he's like our family friend, like my brother as well. So that was the only person I knew in Atlanta. So I knew nothing about Atlanta. So she was like, well, hey, I know you're a good worker. I know we all lost our job and I was fortunate enough to find something. So I was wondering if you were thinking about moving to Atlanta because I need an admissions counselor here. So I was like, okay. The school in Atlanta was called Herzing University, Herzing. So I moved from Memphis to Atlanta to work at Herzing University. Okay, so she was like, yeah, we need a part-time admissions counselor here. Had you thought about moving to Atlanta? I was like, nah, I don't really know anybody. I never thought about moving, or anything like that. She was like, well, think about it. She was like, I want to set up the interview. Is it okay? I was like, yeah. So I was like, how many people have to like me at this interview? And she was like, just one other person than me. So I interview very well. I've never had a problem with interviewing at all. So I was like, okay, I'll just go for it. I'll go for the interview. Because one thing about it, I do not want to live. And even then, 10 years ago when I was in my 30s, I never want to live my life with regrets or what I should have did or what I could have did or what, just all of those things. I'd rather go through the motions and it not work out and regroup and start over before I not go at all or not go through with it or not do it at all and then regret it. Like, what could it have been? So I don't like living with regrets or shoulda, woulda, couldas and all that things. So I was like, okay, I was just thinking to myself, if all else fails, I can always, go back to Memphis and start over, whatever the case. So let me just go to the interview and see. So I set the interview up and went to the interview, killed the interview. I'm talking about crime scene, yellow tape, killed the interview as always. If y'all need help with interviews in 2024, I have a whole session of things for that as well. Great on interviews. I've never been on a job interview and I did not get the job. Never. Well, I'll say once, and I think I was asking for too much. But other than that, I've never really been on a job interview, and I did not get the job. So fast forward to the story. So I went to the interview. I killed the interview. So like a week later, my old supervisor called me and was like, hey, they want to hire you. So I'm like, for real? I was like, oh my God. So now it's like, oh my God, it's real. You know, so it just, everything just came at me so fast. And keep in mind, I don't know anybody there. So she was like, well, keep in mind, it is part-time and it doesn't pay much. So I'm like Scooby-Doo, you know, or whatever the case. So she was like, yeah, it's part-time. So the job was paying like $33,000 part-time. So keep in mind, I was making like $41,000, $42,000 before I lost my job in Memphis and the school closed down. So that's like almost $10,000 less than what I was making. And keep in mind, this is the whole city. I don't know anybody. This is a new thing for me. So all of my friends was like, oh, that's an easy no. I know you're not taking it. I'm like, oh no, I'm still thinking about it. They were like, why would you move to a city that you don't know anybody for almost $10,000 less than what you was making at first when you can just stay here and do this? So I was weighing all the options out. Like sometimes, and this is another thing too that's very important, don't just look at what's in front of you. Don't just look at what's in front of you. You have to look at the whole big picture of things. You have to look past what's in front of you, because if you are fixated on what's in front of you, you might miss something. You might miss your blessing. You might miss the greatest thing that could have happened to you. Do not just look at what's in front of you. Look at the big picture of things. So when all of my friends like, why are you going to move to Atlanta? You don't even know anybody in Atlanta. Then you're going to go and make $10,000 less than what you was making. That's crazy. So I'm thinking like, no, I got a vision. You know, something in my spirit is just telling me to go. Because every time I wanted to say no, it was something that worked out in my favor where I couldn't say no. So my whole plan, this what really let me know that, oh, I've got to move to Atlanta. Like, you know, like this is something for my greater good. I can't see it right now, but it has to be for my greater good. This was it. So my whole plan was to move to Atlanta, stay in a hotel or whatever, because I was already moving with the job. So I didn't have to worry about, you know, saving money or finding a job or whatever. So I was already moving with the job, plus the little money that I would be having moving there with. So my whole plan was to move to Atlanta, stay in a hotel, and once I get some checks rolling and saving my money and stuff like that, and then I'll start apartment shopping and looking for an apartment, and I'm there. I had it all mapped out. Then keep in mind, this is around September, October. So I had already said to myself that I would still pay my rent back in Memphis just in case things didn't work out in Atlanta so I can move back home or something like that. So I was just, you know, all over the place trying to figure it out. So that's when I was like, well, maybe it's not meant, or maybe it is. So no, if it's meant for me to go, everything will just work out so smooth, or whatever the case. Because, you know, when things are supposed to be, it's not going to be of any confusion at all. It's going to flow. That's how you know you're supposed to be doing it, or that's where you're supposed to be. So I had the plan of moving in a hotel, all those things like I just told you. So I told you the only person I knew in Atlanta was my brother's friend. So I was like, you know, this is a hard decision. I don't know anybody. So guess what happened, y'all? One of my brother's friends that I knew in Atlanta, and actually the last time when I went to the interview in Atlanta, I had linked up with my brother's friend, met his girlfriend and things like that. They were real, you know, well, I already knew him, but she was really nice. We just clicked like we had been knowing each other forever. It's like she was my sister. That was my brother. So it's like now I gained a sister. You know, she was really, really, really nice. You know, so you know how sometimes, you know, women will be like, you must like my boyfriend or something. It wasn't nothing. She knew it was family and she felt it. And so there was a great feeling that it wasn't any confusion or whatever. She just felt the family vibe. So guess what happened, y'all? As I was, you know, trying to, in a transition of saying I was going to take the job or yes, or stay in the hotel or whatever the case, my brother's friend ended up going away. I'll say that. Y'all know where he went. He ended up going away. And so the thing about it is he was going to be away for at least 3 months or whatever, because it was a violation of the probation or whatever. So it wasn't a bond. He couldn't get out or whatever the case was. Ended up going away. His girlfriend called me and was like, hey, are you taking the job in Atlanta? You know, so-and-so said, you know, to call you. You're supposed to be coming down here or something. I was like, yeah, actually, I had just kind of, I'm making up my mind, yeah, now, but I think I'm going to take the job. She was like, okay, this is what's going on. She was like, he's gone away or whatever. He's going to be gone away for about 3 months or whatever the case. So we were wondering, could you just stay? Because they were together, but they stayed in separate places. She had her place and he had his. So she was like, we were wondering if you could stay in his place, pay his rent. So at least when he get out from his vacation, then he'll at least have somewhere to stay, because he won't no longer have his job. They're not going to hold your job that long, but at least he'll come back to a place to stay. So a light bulb was like, bang. I was like, big God, is that you trying to work everything out for me where I cannot say no to this opportunity? That's what it felt like, because you're going to go away. The rent in his place was $500. So that allowed me to pay the rent there, pay the light bill, all those bills and things, and still save money. So whenever his vacation was over, I could still get my own place. So I moved to Atlanta. All of my friends, again, thought I was crazy. They was like, you finna move to a place where you don't know nobody. You making $10,000 less. You going from your own place to you taking over this person's place. Like, how's that going to work? I was like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about all this. Sometimes your whole plan might not be solidified and you might have it out. Sometimes you have to, how they say, you got to get your ducks in a row first. Sometimes you got to grab the ducks that you have and head on out. Sometimes you have to grab the ducks that you have and head on out. Sometimes all of your ducks may not be in the row as you think they should be. All of them may not be in the row. That's okay. One thing about it, always take a chance on you. Bet on you. You know who you are. You're going to be in the same place in Mississippi as you would be in New York. The same place, and you're the same person in Memphis as you would be in Atlanta. If you know you, and if you know you're about your business, take a risk and bet on yourself. Do it. We bet on people all the time. We put our faith in people that they're going to do the right thing. We trust people. We help people. Put that same faith and belief in yourself to know that I'm going to bet on myself. I know what's riding. I know what's on the line, and I'm going to do what I need to do. So back to the story. Moved to Atlanta. Like I said, all my friends thought I was crazy. Moved to Atlanta. So everything was working out. I'm in my brother's friend's place. I'm paying his stuff up. So I'm in Atlanta 3 days. So now it really hit me. That, whoa, I moved to Atlanta and I'm making $10,000 less than what I was originally making. I was like, whoa, what I'm saying? I can live, but it's going to be a stretch. And I don't know anybody here. At least in Memphis, if my car broke down, I need to ride to work or whatever, I would know somebody. And Atlanta is one of these cities where if you don't stay by a train station, something like that, you have to have a car in Atlanta. You have, like, North and South Memphis takes 15 minutes to get from North Memphis to South Memphis. North Atlanta to South Atlanta is going to run you an hour at the minimum, and you hope it's not any traffic. So you need a car here. So I'm here about 3 days, and I'm like, whoa, it really hit me. I'm making $10,000 less. I'm in a new place. I don't know anybody. Whoa. So guess what I did, y'all? I went and I applied at Macy's. I was working inside of a mall. The college was at the bottom of the mall in Atlanta. If anybody in Atlanta, Lenox Mall, there was a college under the bottom of Lenox Mall called Herzling University, and that's where I was working at when I moved here. 3 days after I got here, it hit me that I was like, the money, the math is not mathing. Went and applied for Macy's, y'all. Applied for Macy's the 3rd day I had moved to Atlanta. Got the job at Macy's a week later. So now I'm making, I had 2 jobs. I'm making like $17, $18, about $17 on one job, and I'm making $11 at Macy's. So now I'm making $28 an hour. So keep in mind, all of, everybody is not going to see your vision. And it's not for you to be like, no, this is what I'm doing. You got this. Everybody's not going to see your vision, and it's okay. It's not your job to make everybody see your vision. It's your job to just stay aligned and focused on what you see for your vision and what you see for yourself. That's your job. It's not your job to explain and to say what my vision is and what I see for myself, because everybody's not going to always agree. But the thing is, you know yourself better than anybody else know you, so you know what's best for you. Now, I'm not saying don't listen to anybody, so take heed, listen to people. However, you make the final decision because you know what's best for you. So I'm working 2 jobs. I'm working at Macy's. I'm working at the school. I'm talking about, I'm working. You know, I'm going to tell y'all the real story. You know, I have come through those days, and those was my test, and now I have a testimony. So, hey, I can be real with y'all on live and tell you the story. So then I'm in Atlanta, whatever, I'm working the 2 jobs or whatever the case. My car got repoed. Because keep in mind, I was still paying my rent in Memphis. Because you know how sometimes you're scared to let go of some things? It's like all of this was unfamiliar. I'm not sure how it's going to work out. I like it. I have a job, but I'm still scared. So I was still paying my rent in Memphis or whatever, just in case something happened and it didn't work out, that I would have a place to go back to. So keep in mind, I'm paying my rent in Memphis. I'm paying the rent in Atlanta or whatever. And I'm trying to save money because he'll be back from his vacation in 3 months. And I got to get that situated or whatever. Started working at Macy's, working both jobs, got my car repoed or whatever the case. So now I'm like, oh my God, you know, I'm living in a place where you have to have a car. I don't know anybody. I don't have a cousin, a sister, a aunt, a friend, a neighbor, or nobody. Car got repoed. Car got repoed. So I'm living in North Atlanta, but I'm working in South Atlanta. Now, the mall, the Macy's that I was working at, it's kind of North Atlanta. I was working at Cumberland Mall. If you're from this area, you know what Cumberland Mall. But my other job was South, Herzling University. I was living South, and Herzling University was in Buckhead. That's where Lenox is. So I had to have a car. So this is why you should never give up. Like, sometimes we want the easy route. If it was easy, then everybody would be doing it. If it was easy, especially with this medical coding stuff, you know, I know sometimes it get hard. Sometimes we want to give up. Sometimes we feel like it's just one worth the time or whatever. If it was easy, then everybody would be doing it. It's not easy. That's why everybody is not doing it. Whatever it is, it's not easy. Nothing is going to fall in your lap. You're going to have to work for things. And your test sometimes is how much you're willing to sacrifice to get these things that you said you wanted. Sometimes your test is just to see how much you're willing to sacrifice. So what I would do, that's why I don't take no excuses. Now, I might seem like I'm harsh sometimes on a lot of things and the advice I give, but there are no excuses. If you want something bad enough, you're going to do what it takes to get it. Somebody said, I've taken the exam twice now and failed it within 3 points. April, you're going to pass that exam, April. I took the CPC exam 3 times. I would have taken it 33 times if I needed to. First of all, I don't like to feel defeated. That's number 1. And number 2, nothing is easy. We're going to have to keep trying and keep trying until we get it. Some people will say, well, if you couldn't do it or whatever the case, then it must not be for you. That doesn't mean that it's not for you because you weren't successful the first time you tried. It's just like me saying the first time I tried to ride a bike, I fell off of it, so it must not be meant for me to learn how to ride a bike. No, it takes practice with anything you do. It takes practice and it takes sacrifice with anything you do. Practice and sacrifice. Understand it. So, let me tell you my routine. This is why I do not take no excuses. And if you want something bad enough, you're going to do it. You're going to make it happen. I used to have to get up at 5 o'clock. Now, keep in mind, 2014 or whatever, Uber wasn't around like that. Maybe it was around here and there, but it wasn't no Uber where you dialing in Uber. I don't remember Uber popping like this in 2016, where I can call an Uber to go where I'm going. So 2014, Uber wasn't like that. I would get up every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. Now, my schedule at work was 10 to 8. 10 in the morning to 8 at night. 10 in the morning to 8 at night. Oh, let me tell you this. Let me back up. Let me rewind. You know, you go so far off the story, you forget. So keep in mind, I told you guys that I moved to Atlanta for a job that was paying almost $10,000 less than what I was making in Memphis. How about 3 months later? 3 months later, I was working for another college, making more than what I was making in Memphis. That's what I mean by everybody is not going to see your vision. Now, this school I was working at, this school was in South Atlanta. This school was called ICT, International College of Interactive College of Technology. There's one in Chamblee, Atlanta, and there's one in South Atlanta. So I was working there as an admissions counselor. So keep in mind, I'm living north and I'm working south there or whatever at the college. So my schedule was 10 in the morning to 8 at night, enrolling students, graduate services, all these things. I would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. 5 in the morning. Keep in mind, my college I'm working at now is South Atlanta. Back then, South Atlanta did not have any buses or anything. There were no buses in Clayton County. When I first moved to Atlanta, I lived in Clayton County, 2014. You can look it up. There was not any buses that came through there. They had to do an initiative, vote on it, and then later on they came. But when I moved there, no buses. So I was waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, every morning, 5 o'clock. Get myself ready or whatever the case. I would call a taxi. Take the taxi to Indian Creek train station. Now, if you're not familiar with Atlanta, you don't know. But if you are, you know, you know. So I would take it to the Indian Creek train station. I would ride that train to the get-off spot to transfer to go south. I'll go south as far as the train would take me. Then I would call another taxi, and then that taxi would take me to work. So I was getting to work right at about 9:30. So I'm waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning just to make it to work at 9:30. Then when I get off at 8 at night, I'm calling a taxi to get back to the train station, ride those trains to the last stop I can ride it. Then I hop on the bus, and then I ride the bus near my house, and I walked 15 minutes to the house. I was getting out of work at 8 o'clock, and I was making it home at 12:42 every morning, 12 in the morning. So keep in mind, I got to wake right back up at 5 o'clock. So I did this for 6 weeks until I got another car. 6 weeks. My sister in Memphis was begging me to come back home. Will you please come back home? You know you don't have no family there. You don't have to go through all of this. Just come on back home. But my thing was, I'm going to be the same me in Memphis as I am in Atlanta. When I get back to Memphis, if I decide to come home, I'm still going to have some kind of problem that I'm going to run into. So I can't just run away from my problems. I'm going to have to stand here and figure it out. And once I go through all the motions of trying to figure it out, then if nothing is shaking, I know I need to pivot. I know I need to adjust. I know I need to move on. But I haven't tried everything yet. So just because I'm having a problem right now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to run from my problem and move right on back to Memphis or whatever, because I'm going to find some problems once I get to Memphis. And then what? Where I'm going to run there? Where I'm going to go? You know, so I'm going to figure it out. 6 weeks, doing the same thing, got another car. Boom, working, everything's going good. So now I'm like, okay, you know, this money is good or whatever the case, but I need to figure out something else. I'm kind of tired of college admissions, you know, or whatever the case. So now I need to move on. I want to get back into the healthcare field, but I don't know what specifically I can do. I'm not a nurse, so whatever the case. I used to be a pharmacy tech. I used to do direct care. I used to work in business offices and healthcare, but I didn't know exactly where to start or what to do. Okay. So now college admissions or whatever. Now I'm going to tell you this. I would not have never left that job because it was so comfortable and I was making more money at this point. So again, my enrollments were, well, I ain't going to say again because the first time I was laid off, second time I just transitioned jobs. So at this college, they about them enrollments. I don't care who need to graduate, who need to do what. That was about those enrollments. And I started kind of feeling a certain type of way for enrolling students in different programs that was costing more than what they're probably going to make once they graduate. That started not sitting well with me. You know, maybe I was getting conscious, maybe I was waking up, whatever you want to call it. It stopped sitting well that I'm coercing or convincing these people to sign up for these programs, and you're not going to make this money back. So my enrollments kind of fell off, and so they let me go from the school, which had to happen because, again, I would have never let the job go because it was comfortable. So now my thing is I don't want to get back in college admissions anymore. I want to get back in healthcare. That's what I'm going to do. So what can I do? Don't want to be a pharmacy tech again. I've been there, done it. So I started feeling my way around healthcare and things like that. And I started working at this infertility center here in Atlanta. Oh, one of the best places that I could have worked for. I love that place. One of the best places I could have worked for. So it was called, and I can tell you, ACRM, Atlanta Center for Reproductive Medicine. So ACRM was a great place. So I'm working there as a patient care coordinator. So I am the first person that the patients talk to. So I was scheduling appointments, answering questions, just doing all of those things. Now keep in mind, my degree is in psychology. So, most of the time when you don't have a master's doctorate in psychology, it's just, you have to figure out something. So, I didn't want to do that, even though I liked it for my everyday life and knowing how people's mind work and how to talk to people, how to communicate, how to do those things. But I didn't see myself working in that field like that. So I became a patient care coordinator at ACRM. I am killing it. So I'm making about $22 an hour plus a monthly bonus. So I would get a bonus at ACRM a month. I ain't gonna say what the bonus was for, but monthly, my bonus used to range anywhere between $400 and $1,500 a month on top of my check. So, keep in mind, it's 2016 at this point. So that's nice money. My base salary of about $41,000 plus an additional, $500 to $1,500 a month. So I'm working at ACRM. Everything is going good. Then boom, I get pregnant. I'm like, oh my God. So my oldest son is 22 years old. So, me and my partner, I get pregnant, I have a baby or whatever. So once the baby came, it's like, this money is a little short, for me. Now, I ain't counting nobody else's pockets. I'm worried about me. What can I do? How I'm, have this. Yes, when you two, you're union, however, but you still got to make sure you got your end or whatever the case. So I'm like, wait a minute, childcare is $250 a week? Like, wait a minute, like last time, my son, when he was going to daycare, keep in mind I have a 22-year-old now, so, they're 16 years apart. So when I started paying $250 a week for daycare, the last thing I know, daycare costs for a newborn was like $65 a week. So it went from $65 a week in 2001, 2002, to $250 a week in 2017. So that was a big jump. There was a huge jump, or whatever. In Atlanta, Felicia, she said, where do you meet the guy? In Atlanta after I moved here. So there was a huge jump in money or whatever the case. And so as far as paying out for daycare. So, I'm like, whoa, even though I'm getting these bonuses every month, there's a lot of expenses with a new baby. So I was like, I got to do something. What can I do where I don't have to go back to, school, get a master's degree? Because I'm like, hey, maybe I need to go back and get another bachelor's, get a master's or something, because this not it. So I was talking to my homegirl one day. I was like, yeah, girl, this stuff is expensive. I need to figure out something, whatever the case. So she was like, have you thought about medical coding? And so listen, you guys, my first reaction was, medical coding? I need a real job. What do you mean? Billing and coding? Like, oh no, I need a real job. So keep in mind, I didn't really know much about the field at the time and that, like, what they make and the potential and the salary. So I'm looking at her like, she just asked me to, I don't know, the lowest job you can think of. I'm like, I need some money, girl. Why are you talking about medical billing and coding? That's not what I'm looking for, And so she was like, no, you need to look it up. So I'm like, I'm looking up that. So then, like, later on that day, another light bulb was like, bing. So I was like, wait a minute. When we do go on our trips, she the only one swiping that card and ain't, all the rest of us, you have $3.54 left. This the rest of us. She the only one. Swipe, swipe, swipe. I'm like, oh, she do got a nice car. Whoa, she do got a big old beautiful house. Now, what you say about that medical coding again, girl? I was just playing, girl. What you say, girl? So I had to go back and be like, I was just playing, girl. What you say? Now tell me some more. Because now I had to think about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm on the phone talking about I got $2 left in my account while we on the trips, and she's swiping. I'm talking about swiping, good, swiping, ain't calling or nothing. So I had to go back and get that information. You know, so she was like, yeah, okay, let me tell you about, medical code. And I was like, yeah, girl, I'm listening. So she was like, yeah, I do this, you know what I'm saying? Da, 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 da. So I was like, well, how much money you make? She said, well, I'm going to show you. I said, yeah, baby, like I'm from Missouri. I'm the show me state. You can't just tell me something. She showed me her, I'm not sure if you know or not, but if you're not familiar with it, you don't know, I'm going to tell you now. You can go to ssa.gov. That's the Social Security Administration, ssa.gov. It's going to tell you how much money you have made ever since you had your first W-2 job. Your first W-2 job is going to tell you how much money you've made. So she showed me on her SSA like a screenshot or whatever. She sent it over as we was on the phone. So I'm seeing her name and stuff. So I know it ain't no Photoshop. And, back then, ain't no Photoshops like that. Ain't nobody thinking about that like they scamming and do now. But when she sent it to me, my eyes went from this to just like this. I'm like, what the hell? So 1 year, she even made $229,000 as a medical coder. So I was like, what the hell? So that evening right there, I started doing my research. That following week, I was inside of a medical coding course that next week. Like sometimes, I don't know why we have all this information and, we asking all these things and people are giving it to us and they telling us stuff or whatever the case. And we still don't take heed. We still don't listen. We still don't take advantage. She tells me to this day, girl, so many people that didn't listen to me. I'm so glad you listened to me. I'm like, nah, I'm glad I listened to you. Thank you. I'm glad you was kind of telling me because I was brushing you off or whatever the case. So once she told me, I got into my medical coding class and my first class was my CPC. I finished the class and I ended up taking the exam 3 times. I took it twice before I passed it. I felt like I had to pass this exam. This was my way out. If I'm saying I'm tired of being broke, I'm tired of living paycheck to paycheck, this is my opportunity. You mean to tell me I can take a 16-week class and I have the potential? Now, I knew I wasn't going to come into this field making the same thing she was making off top, but she showed me the potential. So a lot of times people ask me where I get my confidence from to make the money I make and things like that. You have to realize I saw her salary coming into this field. So when everybody was yapping and capping, as they say in my ear, telling me, you don't want to do medical coding. It's going to be hard for you to find a job. You ain't going to make much doing medical coding if you don't have no experience. Now I'm hearing all this in my ear. And I was able to duck it and block it because I've already saw the possibilities. So you yapping and capping in my ear because you're telling me your experience. But I have someone right here who's telling me, no, this is the way, and they're showing me. So sometimes when people try to discourage us from doing things, they're coming from a personal experience of what they have not done yet. So they're figuring in their mind, if I have not done it, you ain't gonna be able to do it. I tried. It was hard for me. So you might as well not do this. It's going to be hard for you. But I knew coming into this, I'm me and you're you. Now I'm going to take heed to what you're saying. I appreciate the advice, but I'm not going to be discouraged and distracted by somebody else's experience because what your experience is not going to be my experience. So how I ended up with my first job in medical, now that's a story. Now, I'm giving y'all all the tea. I might as well give my cup and everything because I'm giving y'all all the tea today. So my very first medical coding job, a lot of people was telling me that I was not going to be able to have a job, make good money and all this without experience. Well, I know me. So I started applying before I even sat for the exam. So when this lady called me back, she's like, yeah, we're looking for, now keep in mind, I don't want to skip this part. The ad on Indeed said, do not apply if you're not experienced or if you do not have a certification. Who? I didn't have either. Neither. I didn't have experience like that, and I did not have a certification, but I knew about coding. I felt like I knew enough from my course and from what I was doing at ACRM, just knowing about codes and billing it or whatever the case. So I applied for the job anyway. You know what? This is another lesson I'm going to tell y'all as I'm going through this live. Let the employers tell you no. Always apply. The biggest thing that can happen is they can tell you no and you won't get hired. But what if they tell you yes? So if you looking at all them, qualifications, oh, I don't qualify, still apply. Still apply and let them tell you no. Don't tell yourself no before you even try. Let them tell you no. So you know me, applying. Call me back for the interview. Now I'm gonna tell you this. Now if you get me in that interview room, if you get me in the office, the job is mine. I don't care what somebody else had, do, don't do, what they know, I don't care. If you get me in the interview, you better go to the interview before me. Because if you go after me, it's a wrap because it's my job. They ain't even gonna want to see who you are. I'm telling you. That's how much confidence that you have to have in yourself. That you got to know that this is my job until they call me and tell me that it's not my job. But the whole time I'm interviewing, the whole time, this is my job. I'm going to believe that wholeheartedly. Went to the interview. Killed the interview. You know I kill interview. Crime scene tape. Yellow tape. Corner van. Killed the interview. So, killed the interview. Start working at the job, y'all. Now, here go the juicy teapot. Look, y'all, I don't curse, but I'm going to do it. Look, I was up every day. Do you hear me? I'll put the other word in there. I was messing up every day. Do you hear me? Don't be scared to apply for these jobs. Only thing you can do is learn and get fired, and then you'll find another one. Don't be afraid to bet on yourself and take no risk. So I'm working on a job. I'm messing up every day. I know I'm messing up, but I'm trying. And if they tell me one thing, I get that down pat. Then I might mess up on something else because they hadn't taught me on it and, whatever. So I'm messing up. They let me work there 8 or 9 months. I'm messing up. But I learned a lot on that job, and I'm glad that I took that job and I took that experience and I took that L because I ended up getting a W out of it. So I'm messing up. So one day, I'm on the internet on my break. So, it's my break. Nobody never said anything. You're on your break. You can get on the internet. You can do whatever. You're on your break. So the supervisor come tap me on my shoulder as I'm on the internet. She's like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm on my break. She was like, you're on the internet? Yeah, I'm on my break. No, this is not tolerated. So she proceeds to, get ready through the termination stuff, telling me that, you're on your break. You don't supposed to be doing this. I was like, I've been doing this 8 months. And so I just stopped her right there. Hey, look. We ain't even got to do this. You know what I'm saying? I know I've been messing up on the job every day. You have to also be accountable as well. Also got to be accountable. So I know I've been messing up every day. I don't know if y'all had to find a reason to make yourself feel good or you didn't want to, whatever it was. But I let her know, hey, man, I know I've been messing up on the job every day. Y'all been telling me. So this can't be about no internet. You know what I'm saying? On my break. I know. I appreciate the opportunity that you guys have given me. I'm sure that you need somebody with better skills or whatever the case. I understand it. We ain't got to go through the motions of playing this song and dance game or it's the internet thing or whatever because we both know it's not the internet. I know I'm going to be accountable for messing up. So I ended up getting terminated from my first coding job. And here I am today teaching coding. And as you go down my page, and if you go on YouTube, and if you go on Instagram, and if you go on LinkedIn, I am helping hundreds of people pass their exam. This is the same person that took the first exam 3 times, and I got terminated from my first coding job for making too many mistakes. But I learned from those mistakes. And I took those mistakes that I made to the next job, and I didn't make any. I learned from that. What if I was scared to even go through that? See, sometimes we think that when we make these mistakes or something doesn't come through like we think it is, we think it's a failure. It's not a failure. Anything that you learn from You're not failing. It's a lesson. Look at it as a lesson and a blessing. Don't look at things that don't go your way as you failed at something. It's a lesson to be learned there. So try to find your lesson in it. Instead of trying to find like something else. It's a lesson there. That's all it is. Take your lesson. Take your L, because it's going to end up being a W. Trust me. Your L is going to turn into your W as long as your L is a lesson. Not no loss. Your lesson is going to turn to a win. Okay. So let me go from that job. Then I end up doing a contract at Emory Hospital. Couldn't tell me nothing. I'm coding, getting the codes right, doing that, da-da-da-da-da. Then I end up doing OBGYN, da-da-da-da-da, doing it. And then I fell in love with HCC coding. And here I am. Now I am a physician coding educator. I teach physicians. I teach nurse practitioners, physician assistants, providers about coding. And here I am, got fired from my first job and took the exam twice before I passed it. Well, 3 times, because I took it 1 time, failed, 2 time, failed, and passed it on the 3rd time. Now, the 2nd time, I knew I passed it too, but you know what your girl did? I got a 0. If you all saw my YouTube video, I made a 0 on the exam. So some people was like, how do you make a 0? What happened? I was so nervous because I was working at that job. Now, keep in mind, that was my first coding job. And that's how I was able to elevate and increase my salary so much in this industry, because my first job before I was certified was almost $50,000. So if I was making almost $50,000 and I was not certified, imagine how much I'm going to ask for once I get my certification. If you're giving me $50,000 and I don't have any credentials, oh, y'all better look out. When I get my credentials, it's a wrap, because I'm asking. I'm my hand out, I'm begging, or whatever you want to call it. Where the money reside. You know, so that's how I was able to, you know, just go through this industry and get paid the way I can, because I came in. And again, my mindset was different because I had already saw my homegirl make $200,000 in this industry. So I knew it was possible. So for all of these people who have taken their exams or things like that and you failed the exam, let that L be a lesson and not a loss. See where you need the most help at. Hone in. Get help. Ask for tutoring. So I have a class, a medical class coming up, medical coding class coming up January the 3rd through March the 20th. It's a certified risk adjustment course. And if you're interested in the CPC as well, you can drop that down and let me know. So I will be opening up my CPC class soon. But my CRC class is open for enrollment now. If you've been thinking about medical coding, or if you've been coding and you're just not certified, I suggest that you can go to one of my videos on here, and I talk about the difference between the CPC and the CRC. I always suggest the CRC first. If you do not have any experience, any coding certifications or any of that, I recommend my CRC class first, the Certified Risk Adjustment Coder course. And that's because you're learning from one book. When you take that CPC, you're learning from 3 different books. So that's a lot to try to take in if you've never done this before. So if you've never done this before, the CRC is the way to go. You're learning from one book. And once you learn and master that one book and take this exam and pass, then you can go to the next certification that's going to have 3 books. And if you've already mastered one of those 3 books with taking this first course. So that's why I always recommend this first. And anybody who is into coding, anybody who has looked at coding, looked up coding, everybody knows that the CRC is very much in high demand right now. Very much. Congratulations, Justinia Flores. She said she just passed her CRC and looking for a job. Indeed has the best job leads. Indeed and LinkedIn. Get on Indeed, type in Hcccoder or risk adjustment coder. Get on LinkedIn as well. Networking is very important to new coders when you're looking for jobs. Also, sign up with your local chapter. So yes, the CRC, if you do not have any prior certifications, I would suggest the CRC first. See, no coding experience, the CRC first, and then look into other things. Somebody else asked me about the CCS. So CRC over CCS. Absolutely first. The CCS is inpatient coding, which is totally different from outpatient coding. Totally different from outpatient coding. The book is actually different from outpatient coding. So I would suggest that is to get an introduction into coding. And not only are you getting an introduction, you're getting a certification that is in high demand as well. So a lot of times there's no certification that's up here and the other one is down here. They're just different. Some are inpatient, some are outpatient, some are for surgery, some are for specialties. So of course the money is going to vary depending on what you're doing. But we all know that chronic conditions it's popular. I'm going to tell you this, and y'all going to know I ain't telling no story when I say you should take this CRC first, because the CRC focuses on chronic conditions. Now, when I say this one thing, I want you to jump inside the comments with a thumbs up or a yes if you feel like I'm right when I say this. Now, 10 years ago, it was not happening. It wasn't there. But I bet you my bottom dollar right now, everybody, all 3,000 people on this live right now, you can go on just about any corner and you're going to see about 3 dialysis centers on every corner. Would y'all agree or disagree? Drop that before I go to the next thing. Do y'all see that now? That wasn't like that 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. Do you notice that every corner is about 3? If it's not on every corner, you can't go a whole block without seeing a bunch of dialysis centers. DaVita dialysis, they're everywhere. It's like a chain. It's like the McDonald's now. For seniors or some, their dialysis company. It's like a fast food chain with these dialysis companies. Y'all know I ain't lying. It's sad. Yep, Lindsay, it's sad, but it's true. That's how you know chronic condition coding is popular. It's in demand. That's why you need to do this CRC. Our population is either getting older, sicker, or both. Older, sicker, or both. Older comes with diseases, conditions, and all that. And sick, you're going to have diseases and conditions. So that's where HCC or risk adjustment or CRC coding comes in, because it focuses only on chronic conditions. This is a career that you do not have to go and get a 4-year degree, and you can make more money than most people that you know that have 4-year degrees. I have friends who are nurses, RNs, and I make more than them. I don't know any RNs making 6 figures unless they're doing overtime or traveling. I don't know any RNs that make that much unless they're doing traveling nursing, unless they're doing overtime. But you're not going to find the average RN nurse making 6 figures. You're just not going to find it. So I teach coding. Yes, I do. Somebody said, do you have your own coding company? Yes, I do. It's called Allied Health Prep Academy. You can click the link in the bio. And you can go directly to my website. You can go directly to my YouTube. My Instagram handle is up there as well. The class is only 12 weeks. 12 weeks long. I also have a video on this channel too, if you have not watched it. One of my students, I don't want to tell you. I want you to go and look at one of the videos. One of my students, she's been certified 1 year, and she's a 6-figure coder. Now, do everybody become 6-figure coders off the muscle? No. It depends on you, your tenacity, your experience, your willingness to learn. Do you buy extra books? Do you go to seminars? Are you trying to elevate in this field? Now, I will tell you this. It's so many different things that you can do in this industry. You can be a production coder where you can still make good money. You can code. They got you in productivity. Make sure you're accurate. Or you can do things like auditing. Or you can do things like me, physician educating. So typically, I don't code anymore. I paid my dues. You know, not to say that you're supposed to walk in this industry day one making 6 figures and not coding anymore, but you see the room for growth. Like sometimes people have to work their way up to making $25 on a job. $25, anywhere between $22 and $25, that's the average entry level. That's kind of entry level for coding. $22 to $25. That's entry level. Most jobs, you have to work your way up to that. So if you could come into a field making $45,000, $50,000, what you think the potential going to be once you be in this field for years with your experience? So my program teaches outpatient coding. So let me go to the questions so I can make sure I answer people. I just need a career. I was always a stay-at-home mom for 19 years and I need to start my career. Listen, a lot of people were excited when COVID came and they got a chance to work at home during COVID or whatever the case. Medical coders, we were at home before COVID. COVID didn't affect us. There's nothing that everything that we need to code is here. Because we're pulling up electronic health records, we're reading the records, and we're coding. This is my job. Right here. Everything I need is on my laptop. I don't have to go into an office for anything. There's nothing that I need in the office that I can't pull up on my computer and code. So yes, AAPC certified. Yes, I am a AAPC approved instructor, and I have an educational partnership through the AAPC. The typical difference from my course and the AAPC is my course is more hands-on. The AAPC is more so self-paced only, a lot of that. So you're kind of depending on your own knowledge to navigate through things. With my course, we have weekly tutoring to go over every single chapter that's going to be on this exam. And then my instructor, phenomenal instructor, phenomenal. She's going to break things down even simpler than I do on the videos. She's great. Everybody who's come through my program, they love her. Former student. I just saw it in her. Former student. I just knew she was picking up on things. She would buy extra books. Her head was down. She was very in tune with what was going on. And that's why a year later, she makes 6 figures. Now, I'll tell you this too. Most coders have 2 jobs. It's easy to work 2 jobs in coding. It's easy to work 2 jobs. Very easy to work 2 jobs coding. Very. So most people, and think about this, if you're making $30 on one job, $30 on the other job, that's $60 an hour. A lot of companies also, they pay per chart. So if you don't want to work full time, if you don't want to work part time, they even have companies that will pay you per chart that you code. So you're not glued to a clock or anything. So it's just so many options with this. So if you're looking for a stay-at-home career, or you can have the option of going into the office if that's your choice, but most of us stay at home. We make great money. And if I want to go on vacation, like I don't take a lot of PTO. You know, I like save those days for real things, because if I go on vacation, you know what I do? I'll be at the beach just like this, with my feet in the sand, still working and collecting my check. Taking my break, put my computer down, hop back up, make sure all my work is done. I just take my computer with me. So yes, if you're looking to get into this career, somebody asked me how much does it cost? The CRC course is 12 weeks. You can change your life in a matter of 12 weeks as far as finishing and preparing for this program. 12 weeks. 12 weeks. That's 4 months. There's 12 different lessons that you're going to learn. 12. That's why each one is dedicated a week. If you can dedicate yourself to finishing 1 chapter a week and attend tutoring for 2 hours, just once a week, you can do this. This isn't rocket science. And I always tell people all the time, there's no difference in between me and you. If I can do it, you can do it too. There's no difference where, I'm this person and you're not this person. We're all created the same. If I put my focus and my head on and, did it, there's no reason why nobody else can do it too. I have a student. She was a pizza delivery person prior to taking my class. She worked at retail and Walgreens and she delivered pizzas for Marco's Pizza. She wanted a better way for her and her sons. She was getting a divorce, so a lot of things were on her. And she's now a medical coder. It took her 6 to 7 months to find a job, but she never gave up. Now, keep in mind, she didn't have experience, so she had to find one of those companies that was willing to train and things like that, which a lot of those are out here. And now she doesn't worry about how they're going to get groceries or what they're going to do. She went from delivering pizzas to making almost $50,000 a year in a matter of 1 year. My class is only 4 months. She took my class for 4 months, looked for a job for 6 months. So in 10 months, her entire life had changed. Everything that she was complaining about in regards to finances, she doesn't anymore. So it's like I was telling my niece this the other day. When we look at our life, and I had to do the same assessment of my life too, and that's why I made that change. We have to look at our life and say that where we are in our life right now is the result of the decisions we've made. We have to first be honest with ourselves. If we're unhappy with our pay. Now, I don't know about y'all, but you know how they say, I was robbing Peter to pay Paul. No, I was robbing Peter to pay Paul Nim. It was a few people with Paul Nim. It was like a few people with Paul. It was Paul and about 5 more other people. So I was robbing Peter to pay Paul Nim. It was a group of them. So I got tired of living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck to, I get paid on a Friday, by Monday morning I'm broke. I mean, that got old. And I said to myself, all I have to do is finish a 16-week class, stay down, stay focused, don't be distracted, and I can change my entire life. And I will say this is the best decision, one of the best decisions, because moving to Atlanta was a good decision too. But this medical coding is one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. I do not regret it, and I'll do it all over again. So to tell you about the program, it's 12 weeks, January the 3rd through March the 20th. It is $1,250 if you're not including the books or including the exams or anything like that. $1,250 is for the course, weekly tutoring, and of course access to the instructors. $1,250. There is a payment plan where you can pay $450 a month for 3 months, or we have Affirm and Afterpay, just like Klarna or whatever. So we have Affirm and Afterpay if you would like to choose those. So we have a few payment options. Then there is an option to pay $2,250. That comes with 2 exam attempts, because the exam alone is $500. And of course, by me having a partnership with the AAPC, all of my students get discounts on their exams and things like that when it's time for them to take their exams. The $2,250 includes the tutoring, the course, the book, online practice exams, 2 exam attempts. So it includes, and your AAPC membership. And that's $210 alone, but I do get a discount being that I am an educational partner. So it's $1,250 for the course. If you want to include everything like your AAPC membership, because you have to be a member to sit for the exam. So what a lot of people do is, well, I say a lot, half people, they'll pay the $1,250 for the course. And then, 4 months later, when they're ready to take the exam, they just, use my student discount, take the exam, stuff like that or whatever. Or some people know that they're going to spend that amount of money anyway. So they go ahead and pay their $2,250 up front. And that covers everything, where they're covering their exam, their book, practice exams, the tutoring, the course, and everything that's included. So if you have any questions about my course, you can always call from 9 a.m. Eastern time to 7 p.m. Eastern time, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can always dial the number, and I think it's in the bio. If not, it's 1-800-977-1550. 800-977-1550. 800-977-1550. And you can also go to the website if you want somebody to give you a call. If you don't want to call in or you're not sure or whatever the case and you want someone to give you a call, click the link in the bio. Go to my website, www.alliedhealthprepacademy.com, and you're going to fill out the questionnaire, and you're going to say, hey, I'm just wanting information about your CRC course. Leave your telephone number and your email, and someone will get back to you within 12 to 24 hours. Now, I will say, again, yes, we have Affirm and Afterpay. Now, I know sometimes people get on here and they got this, oh, you can make some good money in 2 months type of thing. No. This is no fly by night. You can go to my LinkedIn. There's over 20,000 followers on my LinkedIn. I've been doing this for 3 years. I have so many success stories, so many student testimonies. Like as you see here on TikTok, I almost have 10,000 followers. Like people know me in the coding world where this is what I do. You can ask anybody who has taken my class. And, I'm not just saying this, but I haven't had any bad reviews. Now, of course, I have things where people will say, well, have you thought about including this? Or this will probably be better. Or have you thought about taking this out or whatever? But as far as a bad review, even when students have failed their exam, it's not a bad review because I make sure that I do my part in delivering everything that you need. I am accessible. I'm delivering the information. I'm pointing you to the resources. My lead instructor is phenomenal. I'm talking about, I can't even begin to just say how phenomenal she is. Like, she is phenomenal. So a lot of people contribute them passing for both of us because they're getting information from us both. Because I'm going to give you the information. She's going to break it down even simpler than I do, to make sure that you're getting it every week. So you can go to the bio. That's going to have information about the CRC class and the CPC class. But if you do not have any coding experience at all, or if you already have your CPC, it's time for your CRC. You don't have to go back to school for 4 years. You don't have to take out a $30,000 loan. You can get through a program in 12 weeks, sit for the exam, and be making almost $50,000 entry level. Like I said again, most times you have to work your way up to $25 an hour once you're on these jobs. Now, unless you're slinging boxes at a warehouse and they paying you differential for night pay, you might be $25 at a warehouse or something. But the average job, you're not really walking with a 12-week course, not a degree. You're not really walking on nobody's job with $50,000 and no experience and stuff. I'm telling you, coding is the way. And that's how I got passionate about teaching. Because, and I'm going to be honest, it started changing my life financially. I was able to do stuff. I host things, when my family come. I'm able to, I have a nice home and, I have a nice car and things like that. It's because of coding. It's definitely because of coding. And once I start getting into this realm of coding and getting into this industry and it started changing my life, that's how I started to introduce other people and tell them, hey, you should look into, even before I started teaching this, I would point them in direction of people who's teaching because I was like, you've got to do this. This has changed my life tremendously financially. Look into this. Even if you saying it's not for you, at least look into it and then say it's not for you. But at least look into it. So someone asked, do you work from home? Yes, ma'am. I've been working from home before COVID. So COVID didn't affect me working from home. Most medical coders work from home. There is a difference between medical billing and medical coding. I do not do any medical billing. If any job asks me to do any medical billing, there's going to be some extra because it's an extra job. Medical billing and medical coding is separate. Coding, we're dealing with diagnosis codes, procedure codes, things like that. Whatever the doctor has diagnosed them with, whatever the doctor has performed on them, that's what we're dealing with coding. Billing, that deals with insurance. You need pre-authorization for surgeries because sometimes your insurance is not going to pay for the surgery. So we need to call the insurance to see what they're going to pay for, what they're not going to pay for. If this patient has a balance on their account, do we need to collect it from the insurance company or from the patient? That's what insurance is. Billing is. I'm not knocking anybody who does medical billing. Absolutely salute to them if we're going to be honest. Because I can't be on the phone all day talking to nobody. So if you do medical billing, man, I salute you. Somebody said, I do medical billing for 2 companies making $40. So she probably making $20 each. Great job, Desiree. It's stressful at times. And see, now, like I said, hats off, salute to anybody who does medical billing. But that would be too stressful for me being on the phone all day, talking to insurance